Get in on the action this season with Underdog's Pick'em game. Select higher or lower between 2 and 8 players and compete for up to 325 times your entry. Use code DIRECTOR when signing up to receive up to $1,000 in bonus cash and a free pick. Go to Bolt Fam, it's the Director. Chargers fans, we got ourselves some Chargers football to look forward to this weekend, at least hopefully. It looks like it's going to be a, hopefully not, but it's looking like it, brutal day for Justin Herbert as the Chargers offensive line continues to struggle to find answers, man. This is crazy. In the Chargers era under Jim Harbaugh, I feel like we all expected a little bit more out of the offensive line specifically. I mean, everything else revolving around the team, sure, but offensive line was supposed to be the one that kind of stuck, right? Right now, the offensive line is in such a bad way that even I, the Director, who is a shameless optimist, is having a hard time finding excitement for this game because I'm so worried about our QB1 getting absolutely clobbered this game. Now, of course, that can be said about the opposite quarterback and Tua Tagovailoa as well. He's not had a great season in his blocking. So, long story short, if you are a quarterback in the NFL that plays for the Miami Dolphins or the Los Angeles Chargers, your days are numbered. It's going to be a rough one, man. Let's unpack what to expect in this one. Hopefully the Chargers can find a win here on the road. Because, yeah, we got to get things back on track. We have too much at stake with the 3-0 start inside the division. Before we do kick things off, shout out to the sponsor, Underdog. Awesome promo going on right now if you guys haven't taken advantage of it. Newcomers, play just $5, get $100 in bonus funds. It is an awesome way to support my platform, have some fun along the way. If you guys are looking for some picks for this game, this is what I'm rolling with. We got Herbert and Devon Achane. We've got 3 picks here. These ones are a little riskier. I like to go with the 2s, but 3s are fine too. This looks pretty good. And then we're going to go here with the Ladd McConkey and Darren Waller as well. Again, thank you so much to everybody who's enjoyed the platform. It really has helped out my channel along the way. Here we go, guys. Before we do kick things off, hit us up with a like and sub if you do enjoy this Chargers content. The small amount of time you guys take to the like, sub, bell notification helps me out a lot. Let's get into it. Lights, camera, action.
Who's got it better than us?
Your Chargers at Miami Dolphins. Game preview. You guys are not going to believe this, dude. We got to look at the injury report first, and we already know we're down bad in terms of players on IR, right? You guys got to remember, outside this list, we got Khalil Mack, IR. Marion Hampton, IR. Joe Alt, IR. Rashawn Slater, IR. Najee Harris, IR. Oh, it's been that kind of season, dude. But here we go. Who's out for this game? Who's questionable? Who's banged up? Well, the Chargers side of things looks pretty grim. First off, some of the guys that are out. Okay, the first one I actually do want to go over is good news, bad news. The bad news, of course, Joe Alt is not going to be playing this game. The good news is that, you know, again, he has not been placed on IR. There's been whispers that he may be back sooner rather than later, so maybe there's a shot that he practices this upcoming week and plays the week after. That's going to be the Vikings game, as a matter of fact. I'm going to be at that game. If you guys want to have an opportunity to say hi to me and Mrs. Director will be in Thunder Alley. Look for us at the Die Hard Bolt Club canopy in Thunder Alley. I think they're going to have like a photo op thing set up for us there. But the fact of the matter is, Joe Alt could be back in the next couple of weeks. So seeing him on the injury report and not on IR, that is good news, bad news. Next up, Darius Davis, who's been a sneaky problem the last couple of weeks. Chargers haven't really found an answer to replace him. We found a little KLS, but his return yardage has not been spectacular. We put Tarheeb Still out there. I didn't like that. I think, honestly, our best option right now is probably Ladd McConkey, and I really don't like that either because, of course, extra reps on special teams is a, roll of the dice every time you throw them out there, but it is what it is. Bud Dupree is questionable for this game. Quentin Johnston is questionable. Scott Matlock is questionable. Denzel Perryman could make his return this game. That could be exciting. And then at the bottom here, you guys can't see Jamari Sawyer, also questionable. Not playing this game as well, dude. Holy cow. Okay, so Deshaun Hand, who's been actually pretty good this season, will not be playing this game. Trey Pipkins also not playing this game. We're going to get into that in just a second. The offensive line is in such a bad way. It's pretty tough out here, man. Jasir Taylor also may be out with an illness. We don't know. But the offense in particular looking to be in a very bad spot in terms of who's suiting up on game day. What about the Miami Dolphins? They also have a pretty extensive list. I would say that they've had some big injuries, including Tyreek Hill this season. But some of the guys not playing this week, Elijah Campbell, Tyrell Dodson, maybe not the biggest names out there. I will say maybe the biggest name on this list, the biggest name that I am shocked is not a Charger, that maybe one day just for the memes becomes a Charger, this cornerback Storm Duck. If that's not the most Charger name I've ever seen, I don't even know. That's pretty crazy. Tua is on the injury report, hip, left thumb, things to watch out for. Maybe he doesn't run. He shouldn't be at all. But that's something to watch out for. Darren Waller also on rest day. He's been having a crazy comeback to his career. Would he take a step back to become a rapper or something at some point, right? A singer or something? I don't know. He's back, though. He's looking crazy good for the Dolphins. That'll be a weapon we have to watch out for on Sunday. All right, let's jump into the biggest topic that's got me worried, that's got me not acting like my normal self. I mean, say what you will. I'm very self-aware, okay? I understand. I can be pretty hype. I can be pretty optimistic. And that's kind of my general view on life, right? I tend to be a pretty happy person, okay? And even I am at a point right now where I'm really getting worried about the state of the offensive line. Okay, it has been so bad that my optimism looking forward through the next however many games isn't great. And this was supposed to be the stretch of games that we can get this team right? The opportunity to go up against some of the softer opponents in our schedule this year. And even this being the case, I just don't know right now, man. It is particularly bad. Of course, we saw a couple of weeks ago when Joe Alt went out, and this is kind of, I feel like the final straw for this offensive line. That was the straw that broke the camel's back, right? As soon as Joe Alt exited in that game, it has been particularly awful. I mentioned this in one of my other videos. Rashawn Slater, and this is one of the comments from one of my previous videos. Shout out to you if you see this. Great comment. He says, Rashawn Slater was like one of the first engine on an airplane to go out. And then Joe Alt was the second engine. And since then, we've been in a tailspin. And it feels that it has grown worse and worse by the week. And it's not great, dudes. I'm gonna take a look here in the PFF grades to show you guys just how bad the situation is right now, in particular with now Trey Pipkins not suiting up on Sunday. Austin Deculus, and I'm gonna read these out, man, because it's not great. Grading as the 65th tackle out of 68 in the league. Of course, you've got tackles on each side, so 64. So this is the worst tackle in the National Football League outside the starting 34 or 64, excuse me. That is that's bad. That is really, really bad. Zion Johnson, 37th out of 78. That's fine, I guess. That's surprisingly Zion Johnson being the highest graded tackle. I wasn't on my bingo card. Excuse me, offensive lineman. That was not on my bingo card this year. He's been okay. Bradley Bozeman, ranked as the 34th out of 35 centers in the league. What do we just say, right? The tackles, it was 64. With centers, it's 32. There's 32 tackles in the NFL, or excuse me, centers in the NFL that start for a team. He is worse than two of maybe the backups that we've seen throughout the NFL so far this year. It is so bad. And the Bozeman thing in particular makes me upset because of the opportunity we had last year to maybe try and fix it. We saw similar numbers from Bozeman last season. Chargers didn't really do much to move the needle there outside of signing Andre James, which at this point I would really like to see an opportunity for him to go out there and maybe show us what he's got. I know he's not great in pass protection, but he's pretty good in run blocking, and that's something we're going to really need this week. I think that's our edge versus the Dolphins. Mekhi Becton, 67th out of 78 guards. That one is very shocking to me. Becton has looked up and down. He's been out more than he's been in, it feels like. But that's one that hurts. And then finally on the right side, I don't know what Trey Pipkins' grade is. It's not pulled up here, but as you'll see, he's not listed for this game. Instead, it's this man, Bobby Hart. And Bobby Hart has not taken a snap in the NFL since 2022. Here's what his numbers looked like back then in his last game action in that season. And again, just to show you guys we're not fibbing. Here's 25, here's 24, here's 22. I believe at this time he played for the Bengals. I don't remember. He's been around. The Bengals is the one that I remember. I know there's been a couple of teams in between. He might be wearing Commanders jersey there. Here are the grades in 21. 2020 looks like to be his last decent season. Maybe since that, before that he was okay for the majority of his career, but this has me really worried, dudes. Yeah, Austin Deculus on one side, who is one of the worst tackles. I'm sure the worst starting tackle in the NFL right now. On the right side, you've got a guy who hasn't played since 2022. Even then, he didn't grade out fantastic. I mean, this would be okay for our line right now. It is not looking good. And that brings me to the first focus on this game. And this is why I'm so, concerned. Is Justin Herbert is our best opportunity to find success at the end of the season, right? If we can find a way to get double-digit wins at this point, which is crazy because we're looking at to be one of the highest win total teams in the NFL in the first 3 weeks, and now it's really taken a serious turn. Protecting Justin Herbert has become a huge emphasis of mine. It always has been, but in particular the last couple of weeks where it really feels like he's been fighting for his life. I've got some statistics, man, that really put a number on how bad the season has been for Justin Herbert. And keep in mind, a majority of this has happened in the last 2 or 3 weeks. Herbert has been sacked 16 times this season. It's ranking up there in terms of the highest amount sacked in the season. But where he is standing alone by a wide margin is that this man has been pressured a staggering 80 times so far this year. You want to know a stat I saw on social media, I think yesterday? Josh Allen got pressured 80 times in all of 2024. Justin Herbert has been pressured 80 times in his first 5 weeks of football. Another stat I saw on social media. The New York Giants, who have been looking good recently, right? Can't take that away from them. They just beat the Eagles yesterday. Absolutely crazy. They recorded the highest pressure rate in the history of recorded stats in their franchise in that week they played the Chargers. The fact that Justin Herbert has made it out of these contests and out of these games is staggering. And it makes me wonder how the Chargers could possibly begin to plan to attack the Miami Dolphins this week with what we're going to assume is very little to no protection. It is going to be bad. The only way I can think to attack them this week is again, similar to what we were saying last week, short, quick throws. Similar to back in the day of the Joe Lombardi offense, right? We got to maybe lean back into that just a little bit. Find some underneath stuff. Get Kamani Vidal involved as a receiver. Maybe look to the tight end more. We'll talk about that in a second. And hopefully figure out a way to get the screen involved. I'm not so sure I want to do that this week because almost every single execution of a screen I've seen this season, in particular to the running back, has been really awful. Because obviously you have to get your offensive line in position. Everyone's got to know what they're doing, and it really just hasn't looked good. Whatever the case may be this week, whatever the result may be, I just hope that Justin Herbert finds a way to stay upright more often than not. Do they make him more mobile? Maybe. I have to assume that he's going to be on the run a lot this week. If you're on Underdog, take a look at his rush attempts. I certainly did, right? If we go back here, you'll notice right here, I got more than 3.5 rush attempts. I think he's going to be exiting the pocket a lot. It's going to be bad. I don't know when it's going to get better either. I know Joe Alt coming back. That's a huge, huge deal. Hopefully Trey Pipkins is back at some point too. But the offensive line has just been such a serious area of concern that it has stifled me as a Chargers fan in terms of optimism. Hopefully that turns around this week. It's a great opportunity for the Chargers to turn it around, but the offensive line is really holding us back at this point. Got to move on. Like we said, the Chargers, if they're going to move the ball vertically, I'm really feeling like they're going to have to get it to their playmakers underneath and just hope they can generate something after the catch, which luckily the Chargers have in terms of wide receiver, 2 really good weapons to accomplish that. One is Ladd McConkey. Obviously, we know this guy. He's got that signature like loop move, right? He'll catch the ball and then kind of loop back upfield and gain an extra 5, 6, 7 yards, sometimes even more. He's been awesome. But in particular on the team, funny enough, even before, the breakout season that we've seen so far this year, Quentin Johnston, this has been one of his strengths since he was drafted, right? This is when we were watching tape of his NFL draft profile coming in from TCU. He looked to be that guy where you're going to want to get it to him on a slant, underneath, watch him generate, yardage after the catch. And he's done a great job of that this season. Funny enough, he's been such a big, deep threat guy this year that you would forget about it. I don't know how many opportunities that we're going to have to, buy him time to get downfield this week, but I do feel like getting him the ball underneath and finding success, after the catch is something that the Chargers offense, strangely enough, is suited for. And they have the weapons to make that happen. I think, Quentin Johnston, Ladd McConkey. Yes, Keenan Allen as well. Of course, Keenan doesn't have the speed, but he's got the moves. He should be able to be that security guy this week, whereas Ladd and QJ, I'm really feeling could be those big yardage guys that we're going to need. We can hope that there's time to throw deep. We can hope that something develops, but which sucks because the Chargers can be such a good team in these areas. I'm putting a pause on how many, deep throws I'm throwing in, the playbook this week. I'm putting a pause on play action a lot this week. Play action is something the Chargers are so good at. I just don't know if we're going to have the time, man. It is going to be tough out there. But luckily, again, like I said, we've got guys that can work the field if we can get them the football in space. So let's cross our fingers there. Another guy that I would really hope to see get involved this week is Oronde Gadsden. The Chargers have a problem and a solution at tight end right now. I'm sure you guys know where I'm going with this. Tyler Conklin has been maybe the biggest disappointment for me so far this season. I had a lot of hopes for Becton and these guys too, but Conklin, he was so solid in his years with the Jets. And their situation offensively in his career was not great. No good quarterbacks. Offenses, for the most part, were pretty bad. He looked good despite all that. Coming to the Chargers, I had a lot of high hopes that he could be that guy from Justin Herbert. So far this season, he's looked as bad, if not worse, than Hayden Hurst last season. It has been bad. Now, like I said, there's a problem and there's also a solution. Oronde Gadsden, on the other hand, has been awesome. And he's another one of those guys that I mentioned, get the ball to him in space. He's got speed. The guy can separate. He's versatile. He lines up everywhere. I really, really want to see this Oronde Gadsden thing develop quickly because we're going to need him this year. Now, of course, Chargers fans, and I will say this about Conklin and other guys, the blocking is probably better with these other tight ends, but Conklin, or I should say Gadsden, has not been as bad as I thought in terms of blocking. But what he offers in terms of a quick target to Justin Herbert, I think is invaluable, in particular in games like this. So Oronde Gadsden still waiting for, that next step. He had a really good game a few weeks back. I'm hoping to see it again this week. But the primary way the Chargers need to attack the Dolphins this week is going to be on the ground, which, again, so sickening to think about Omarion Hampton not suiting up in this one. I'm sick to my stomach. I won't be able to see him play it in that Vikings game. That's one of the highlights I was looking forward to. But in his stead, we got decent backups. I was hoping that we would make a move to bring somebody in. But I've always felt pretty good about Kamani Vidal, so we'll start with that. Vidal, he's a decent back, right? He doesn't have that it factor of Hampton, which that to me was the ability to break tackles, be physical, he always make the first guy earn that tackle, and that's probably one of the things that smoothed over our run game the last couple of weeks. But Kamani Vidal also has another, collection of talents that you can lean on in different ways. He's definitely a little lower to the ground. Maybe find some ways to attack the middle with him despite not being as physical as Omarion Hampton. But he's also a very good receiving back. Again, Hampton also was, but we'll try and put that in the back of our minds right now. And I'm seeing a lot of talk throughout the fantasy football community about Hassan Haskins as well, who should be involved in this game. But I want to remind everybody, we have so many examples of how the Chargers like to roll out these particular kind of running backs that I think I know it's going to happen on Sunday. In years past, you've seen J.K. Dobbins be the primary guy, even when Gus Edwards was supposed to be RB1. That's the way it would shake out. Omarion Hampton, Najee Harris felt kind of the same way. It was Omarion Hampton and RB1, with Najee Harris being that, bruiser, that guy that softens the defensive line for you. I see the same exact thing happening here. Kamani Vidal, right now, RB1. Hassan Haskins, change of pace, or I should say more of that physical guy, the bruiser, right, that can get in there on those short yardage situations. And he's also a special teamer that's pretty valuable to this team. That's where I'm kind of saying, Kamani Vidal is our best chance to run the football this week. Luckily, we're in a position where Vidal has an opponent that could help him out early. Okay, the Miami Dolphins are not good, giving up the most rushing yards per game by a good margin this season. So if we were looking for a good opponent to run the football on, it's this week. This was the game I was going to make nuclear for Omarion Hampton. But it's a great opportunity for Kamani Vidal. It's an opportunity for us to maybe smooth over again the offensive line problems, hopefully find some space. I don't know. The Miami Dolphins, they can be pretty good in terms of their defensive line. They're not as good as I was expecting, but against our offensive line, they're going to find some success this week. But run the football as much as possible. Try and keep Justin Herbert protected as much as possible. That's all we can ask for. Okay? Quickly, defensively, this is what we're looking at. Miami Dolphins, not great at protecting their quarterback either. They're not as bad as the Chargers by far, but they've also given up some pretty bad stats in terms of, quarterback sacks and stuff. Tua, 11 sacks on the season, 54 pressures. That's also pretty high. Again, Justin Herbert at 80. That's what I'm going to tell you. That's how bad that is. This is, again, defensively one of the best ways we can get some momentum. We've got playmakers all over the field, right? We've got Derwin James, who's been great all season. The defense, for the most part, has been pretty solid despite the offense, which is a similar narrative from last season. But getting to Tua is going to be a pretty big emphasis for me, and forcing him to throw it. Now, that is where the Chargers need to improve a little bit. We have not been good the last few weeks in defending against the run. Devon Achane is the opponent this week. I'm very worried about this. We just gave up a whole lot of yards to Corey Krosky-Merritt, and the Commanders. I'm hoping we figured something out, because Achane is definitely a few steps ahead of Merritt, right? And mostly, I want to put a cap on the run game because I want to force, Tua to throw the football, because we'll have opportunities to have him make mistakes there. Of course, you guys saw this for a second. We also have likely the debut game of our new edge defender, Odafe Oweh, which I'm super excited about, by the way. I know a lot of Ravens fans gave me flack about, his lack of production this season. We could say the same thing about Tua before he put up a 4-sack game. The Chargers, they have a really good system for this position, and I think the Chargers bringing in Odafe Oweh is such a steal, such a good move, and hopefully one that, again, if he can pick it up quickly and find some good success in the second half of the season, maybe a long-term answer after Khalil Mack hangs up the cleats, okay? So get Tua to throw the football. I think we're going to have a good opportunity to hopefully generate some turnovers, which we are very much so going to need. By the way, one thing I'm going to say as well, have you guys heard the rumors? And again, they're just rumors. I don't know what the sources are or anything like that are on this, but the rumor has been that Devon Achane has been mentioned in trade talks by the Dolphins, and the Chargers have been one of the teams mentioned as maybe a candidate to trade for him. Very exciting. I'm not going to say I would say no to that. Of course, I would love Devon Achane on my football team with Amari and Hampton. Are you kidding me? However, my thought on it is the Dolphins are probably going to be asking for a second or first round pick, and I just don't know if I'm willing to do that right now for this reason. We need offensive line help so bad. We need all the picks we can get to try and fix this quickly. I don't know if it's going to happen in free agency completely. I would hope that we would do as much as we can there, but we're going to need the draft. We're going to need the capital. I think I would maybe pass on that because the asking price may be too much. If it's a third, maybe a fourth, yes, absolutely. But, it depends on the price for me. So with all that being said, this game to me, to kind of put a stamp on it, to kind of put a long story short to this, I think this is going to be a brutal game in terms of passing. I think both quarterbacks are going to have a hard time. I think you're going to see a lot of sacks this game. But it's one that I'm really hoping the Chargers can find a way to get right. We have an opportunity still. I don't want to give up on 3-0 and to start the season. I think this move and bringing in Odafe Owe is telling me the Chargers aren't giving up on it, but I need some hope as a Chargers fan that we can protect Justin Herbert and get this offense right. And until then, I may remain a little skeptical. Okay, my score prediction on this one, Chargers 21, Dolphins 24. Again, I really hope they figure it out. I hope the offensive line sees some new life, but for now, it's kind of a wait-and-see thing for me. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me. This has been The Director. Please leave your score predictions in the comments below. Maybe the Chargers and Kamani Vidal can figure it out this week. I don't know. Thank you guys so much. We'll catch you next time. As always, bolt up, stay frosty, protect Justin Herbert at all costs.